Hello and welcome to another episode of the EFL Fantasy Podcast. My name is Jamie.
My name is Angus.
And my name is Dan.
And we are back to review game week 30 in Gaffr. Before we start, how are you both?
Yeah, good.
Yeah, good. 1-0 win. And not great on Gaffr though, I don't think.
I was hoping we weren't going to really mention the EFL Fantasy Derby. It wasn't a great trip for myself, but we will talk about the game a bit later on, but that's all I want to say on it at the moment, Dan, as you can probably understand. So agenda then for this week's episode, we'll go through our scores. We've got 5 featured games that we will discuss key topics from, 6 other results, go into the Twitter questions, and that is about it. We're not doing our predictions this week because there's still 2 games to go. So Dan and Angus will be recording the extra episode midweek, so they will cover that then. Should we get into it?
Yeah, let's do it.
Right then. First one, high score from the 4 teams this week was the pod team, Angus. I'll let you talk us through that one because you are the admin.
Yeah. So we're currently on 99 -4. We took -4 to bring in Vachlik and Maxwell for Wilson and Johansson. We had Ndiaye captain, which was a blank, and Helic vice captain, which is currently 6. He did go off with an injury, so it might be end at 6 for him. We also had 6 from Giles, 5 from Ahmed Hodzic, 13 from Matson, 11 from Zaruri, 10 from Saar, 5 from Chair, 1 from Rhodes, and 16 from Akpom.
Lovely, nice score. And how are we getting on against the community and guys on Gaffy?
So it looks like we are headed for quite a strong victory this week. As I said, we're on 99 -4. Those other 2 teams are in the 60s this week, so that should be another win on the board for us.
Easy.
All we did was just give them a head start, and now we're going to power through.
Yeah, obliterate them every single week from now on. Next score, Dan, it's you again, Angus. You were the highest from us 3. For those on YouTube can see on the screen, 70 -4.
Yeah, so far Jeepers Keepers hasn't been that much of a success. I mentioned we did it with the pod team. I did it in my own team as well, bringing in Vachlik and Maxwell. I also brought in Yates, vice captained him. So great moves so far. But yeah, Jeepers Keepers a bit of a disappointment so far. I think they made 4 saves combined and 1 half clean sheet. So I'm hoping for some big save numbers in Blackpool Huddersfield midweek. Giles 6, Kamara 2, Ahmed Hodzic 5, Chair 5, Saar 10, and Ndiaye captain Zaruri, Estupinian and Victor both blanked out, and Yates the 1-pointer. I think he hit the woodwork, but all he ended up doing points wise was getting booked. So yeah, it feels a little bit disappointing, but hopefully, with sort of those 3 to play in midweek, particularly with the 2 keepers, I'm hoping for a bit of a bump there.
I love the fact that because, when double game weeks come around, you plan your booster on it. I can just see Bree there as third on your bench. That's just not a priority. Just keep him there. And
I left 2 unavailable players in there. Ferreira's injured. And Bree's gone. And I was like, nah, it doesn't matter.
Right, next one then. It'll be you, Dan. Talk us through your team.
So I'm on 59 -4. No boost this week because I already used Jeepers Keepers a couple of weeks ago before they randomly announced this double. My transfers were Stewart and Jones out for Yates and Good, so that's gone terrible so far. They've got another game to redeem themselves. Captain NDI, Vice Yates, Wilson 4, Giles 6, Drame 3, Amatovic 5, Chair 5, Saar 10, Akpom 16, and Victor 2. So it's probably been one of the only weeks in the last 5-6 games where my captain hasn't really blank. So, yeah, bit disappointing. Probably going to be a red arrow with all the boosts down. So, trying to cling on to that top 100, but I'm not sure yet.
Well, if you think that's disappointing, Dan, I'm going to make you feel a lot better because here comes my team. I decided to take a -12. I can't even not laugh about it. So I'm on 56 -12. I was just at the point where I've just had enough. I was at 185th, I think, going into this game week. Just for those on YouTube, you can see the overall game week rank 0. At time of recording, they hadn't updated, so that's the reason for that. Yeah, I was 185th, and I thought, what do I do? So I decided to bring in 4 players from 2 of the worst teams in the league, just because they've got a double. So I brought in Yates, Bowler, Radani, and Hellick for Victor, Chair, Field, and Norton Coffey. Captain Yates for 2 points. Vice Captain Radani for 1. Hellick got me 4. And I wasn't even aware of that injury, Angus, so that's fantastic news. That is the icing on the cake. And yeah, emergency captain Bowler. Other than that, I've got Brereton Diaz tomorrow, Wigan, so hopefully you can get me some points. Akpom in there, 16, and DI 3, Egan 6, Bogle 9, love that man. Giles 6, and Johansson 7. It's too small on my screen to read. I just want to know, is it acceptable for me to now just sack this team off and then call my partner's team my team? Because I'd like to talk about that one. That's doing okay.
I think I think what you've got to remember, Jamie, is that last season there weren't many better than you around Europe, and you've had to compromise certain things this season, and I don't think you'll be doing that anymore.
Fantastic. Sure, Dan appreciated that, the Nathan Jones reference.
Yeah.
Yeah, and also, I'm just gonna have some fun now for the last set.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. It's just like, everything you want to do, like that you'd normally talk yourself out of because it's a bit too out there or whatever. Now's your opportunity to just do that.
Oh yeah, I haven't even thought of my plan for this yet, but 33 is going to be wild. My team is going to be wild. So yeah, that's that. Then let's get into some games. Then, so the first one is Norwich 0, Burnley 3. Anything noticeable from the lineups, Dan?
Yeah, so Norwich were unchanged, the starting line. Marquinhos and Zolis were on the bench, 2 wingers, 1. Marquinhos was on loan from Arsenal, and Zolis was recalled. We mentioned, for probably about 3 or 4 weeks about there wasn't a balance to their team, and they needed width. Since Wagner's come in, he's been playing Hernandez, who was probably their only out-and-out winger, and they've been playing Dow on the right, who's been drifting in. But now they've got 2 other options, which you think will improve them going forward and get the best out of Pookie and probably Sargent. Burnley, there was quite a few. I think there was like an illness going around. Piquet, Farrell, Ekdal, Goodmanson was in, so was Barnes. They had a front 4 of Goodmanson, Teller, Zahore, and Barnes. So it's not exactly a drop off really when you think about the rest of the league. The thing I most want to talk about, I know that Burnley comfortably won 3-0, was Norwich with that. They've had so many errors leading to shots, and that's where the first goal came from. To be honest, Teller had a chance before they even took the lead, where if it wasn't from a great block by Hanley, it probably would have been 1-0. But they just passed round the back. I don't know if you've got this screenshot up there.
I have done, yes. That lovely picture that we sent through. So errors leading to shots. Norwich lead the way with a massive 18. And Swansea and Rotherham are second and third with 9 each. So Norwich more than double the other 2 teams, which is alarming, let's say, isn't it?
Well, yeah, obviously they want to play out from the back, but They've done it numerous times. They also Krul gave the ball to Sahore. It was so unexpected that the Sky cameras, when I was watching it back, they missed it. All they caught was the ball going in the net. You could hear like the fans were like, "Oh no, what are you doing?" And then the ball was in the back of the net on the Sky cameras. But yeah, even thinking back to when they played Luton, Luton's first goal for Campbell, they gave the ball away and Campbell just went through and scored. So they've got to cut out those errors if they want to get in the playoffs. Now you've got some teams, West Brom, Middlesbrough, Luton, they're picking up form. They can't afford to drop too many more points. Norwich. That's the main thing I wanted to talk about.
Just before we go to Angus, regarding Burnley, would you say, we've talked about Norwich a couple of times over the last few weeks, especially since Wagner's come in, about potential assets attacking wise. We haven't really spoke about them defensively as in terms of what assets you'd want. Are them numbers enough to put you off the defensive assets?
Yeah, I think so. I think even in their games, it's been quite end to end. I know they beat Preston. Was it 4-1 or 4-0? They then had that wild game against Coventry when it was 4-2, and this game, that if they're going to continue playing out for the back, they got Grant Hanley. He can't play out from the back. Like
you could have stopped after out from the back.
Yeah, I don't understand. I get managers have their philosophies and how they want to play. Fully get that. But when you come into a new club, you kind of got to go with what you've got. And I remember when Mark Hughes came in Stoke and he was trying to play out the back with Ryan Shawcross. It's just like, this isn't going to happen. Just like adapt to it at least. Just until you bring in the players that you want.
Yeah, so we'll see. I wouldn't be going near their defenders. Pookie's the only one at the minute. The other places are too unsettled, I think.
Yeah, right then, Angus. Burnley, I've got a big, lovely picture of Ian Matson on the screen. Obviously, we said we weren't really going to speak about Burnley anymore. We know how good they are. They're amazing. A lot of people are starting to realise that now. I've seen online, like on Twitter, like not like fantasy football players, like Gaffr players, but just general people, just like starting to notice them. But you wanted to speak about Ian Matson, didn't you?
Yeah, I just think, and I know why, particularly because there's been other players or we've been talking about other teams, but I think there's been a small element of just forgetting how good Ian Matson is and has been. I know he went a little bit quiet for a bit with in terms of returns or whatever, but he's got, I think it's 4 goals and 5 assists this season. And I mean, even just watching the highlights of that game and bits and pieces of it, you just sort of reminded, he's so involved and he's so threatening going forward. Like, I'm talking about Norwich, when Max Aarons, for example, gets forward, you're not worried in the same way. You don't see the sort of like, oh yeah, he's going to make something happen. He's going to put a dangerous ball in. He's going to, fire in a shot or whatever. It's sort of like, he might put in a cross, which isn't necessarily that good, or he might sort of check back inside. Matson is always looking to make that aggressive play as well. And so I thought it was just, because we haven't spoken, it feels like we haven't spoken about him in a little while, and he's sort of gone overlooked when people have been talking about different defensive options or defensive options with doubles or, new teams, or, we've spoken about Isaiah Jones more than we've spoken about Matson and that sort of thing. So I just thought it was worth sort of almost just a handy reminder of how good he is.
I think it's a good reminder as well, because people will probably, if they've got him now, they'll probably end up selling him or maybe keep him for the bench, because they have got a double in 33, but he doesn't qualify as a budget buster player. So if people are planning on playing that boost in that week, he doesn't fit that criteria. But I'm just looking at their run after that double in 33. Huddersfield at home, Blackpool away, Wigan at home, Hull away, Blackburn away, Sunderland at home before Middlesbrough in 40. So
they'll be promoted by then.
Yeah, you've got 7 basically unbelievable fixtures.
Yeah.
I mean, anybody's an unbelievable fixture for Burnley at the moment. They're that good.
Yeah.
But he is going to be a player that you want in your team, isn't he?
Yeah, I think that's the thing. It's just going to be so so hard to ignore, particularly him.
Do both of you own at the moment?
No.
I'm a dick. I benched him, but I was going to see what your plan would be with him. Like, would you stick with him and bench him for 33 if you were going to play Budget Buster then, or would you sell him and look to bring him back if you had him?
I guess I've got a similar sort of question because I've got Zaruri, who obviously scored in this game. Thanks, Tim Krull. And my plan at the moment is to just bench him and sort of then start him in the games afterwards.
What about you, Dan?
It's really tricky, isn't it? Because we know how powerful the budget busters. You're going to have to get rid of some of the players you want. You think NDI, you've probably got so much money in NDI. If you bring in Pookie, you're probably going to want him straight back. Wallace. There's a lot of good players who you might want to keep. But I think with that run, that run is ridiculous. You're going to want him sharpish after the double.
Right. Should we go on to the next game?
Yeah, let's do it.
Right. Middlesbrough 3, Blackpool 0. That man Akpom again, Dan.
Yep.
He's just on fire, isn't he? And I was watching his interview today after the game, and I think they said, was it Ravenelli? I think they were saying was the last person to score 20 goals. And it's just his reply to it. He just seems so humble.
Are you too old enough for Ravenelli?
Yeah, just about.
Angus, you?
Yeah,
just about.
I keep forgetting your ages.
No, I just had a tough paper round. That's why you might think I'm older than I am. No, Akpom. We spoke about him a lot. He's great value in the game for his price. One of the few players, I'd say, were priced wrong, but hindsight's a lovely thing.
He was priced right. We go by he was priced right.
He
was nearly out the door.
He was nearly out the door, and he'd never had a 10-goal season in his career.
I just want to know how that happens, if I'm honest. How do you... no disrespect to him, because I love him at the moment, but how do you go from that, basically on the verge of being booted out the door at Borough, to becoming probably one of the best players this season?
I think part of it is, obviously being an Arsenal fan, I know there was real sort of optimism when he was coming through that he was going to be a big thing for Arsenal. And it didn't quite pan out. And I think he made the mistake of not of leaving. I think that's fair. But I don't think he necessarily thought his career through as well when he left. I think he went off to like Greece or something, and he didn't necessarily think it through in the best way. And so I think he's had to sort of build it back up a little bit from that. And so I think he's finally sort of in a system that allows him to flourish. He's finally sort of actually playing a good run of games. And with that talent that was clearly always there, it's now sort of finally sort of showing through.
And Dan, he obviously, his price is really cheap, so he qualifies as the budget buster player, but he doesn't have a double.
That's the disappointing.
Yeah, really disappointing. I think everybody having. But would you say for those people who have got him now, and they're trying to figure a way of getting a budget buster team out, whether it's 11 players, 10, 9, 8, whatever they're doing, would you potentially keep him, or do you think you've got to do whatever you can to get to 11 doublers?
Well, I'll be getting 11, I think. And you're going to want 3 strikers. There might not be 3 great option strikers, or on paper might not be great, but I think because of the point scoring, all you have to do is get like a striker who gets like a couple of goals, and you're getting a serious amount of points. And Akpom's his price, he's so easy to get back in. Like you can just bring him basically straight back in if you really want to.
I can't think of anything else to say about Akpom, because he's just, we've praised
16 goals
that much. Is there anything else you want to discuss about Akpom before we go on to?
No, not really.
Renahan?
No, I just think I'll go through just a bit of the lineups.
You know,
Barlaser
I
was
forgot about the game. I was just
that's all
looking
right.
at Pommy. Sorry, Dan, go on.
Barlaser was on the bench, obviously. One of the main transfer window signings. McNair kept his place over Fry after Fry was sent off against Sunderland. Blackpool played as expected 5-3-2. Nelson from Cardiff came straight in. It was Yates and Lavery up front. Bowler seems to sort of be playing centre mid, so I'm not sure if that's getting the best out of Bowler. So that was the main news on the lineups. I know Angus wants to talk about Lenihan.
Yeah, go on, Angus.
I just think we've talked about quite a lot to do with Middlesbrough and a lot of the different players. I just think, someone like Darragh Lenihan has been really important for them, particularly with what Carrick's wanted to do about playing out from the back. That's something that Lenihan is capable of and enables them to do. And particularly when he's been playing next to someone like Dale Fry, who's a bit more limited, it has been important for him to be able to do that. And, we knew his quality at Blackburn. He'd shown how good he was. And it was one of these sort of, oh yeah, this is a good signing, but we weren't sure how it was going to fit because, was McNair really going to drop out of the team and that sort of thing. And I just thought, he's obviously got an assist in this game, which, you're not necessarily going to be going to Darragh Lenihan looking for assists and attacking returns, although, he's always a threat at set pieces. But just thought, again, it's one of those things where it's just giving a little bit of love to someone we haven't necessarily mentioned, but has actually been quite important to what Middlesbrough do this season.
And before we move on, though, Blackpool have obviously got another game in this game week. It's a massive game against Huddersfield.
Yeah.
Like, I've seen Blackpool fans on Twitter saying, if they lose that, they're down. They think they're down. What, do you rate their chances midweek? A lot of people brought in like Yates, other players, Bowler. What would be your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think, to be honest, from my point of view, I was one of the people who bought Yates this week. I mean, I bought Maxwell for Jeepers Keepers, but that's a no-brainer with the double. Yates, in big part, I thought anything that came against Borough was a bonus, and you're really looking at the midweek game. So if you're feeling down about your Blackpool players at this point, I would think, the reason you bought them really was the second game of the double. So that will sort of be the real proof of whether it's a good pickup or not.
Do you think they'll win midweek, Dan?
I really don't know in that game. I saw Huddersfield recently. I think they're a lot better than they were at the start of the season, but they're not great going forward. It's going to be tight. It's going to be one goal in it. Wouldn't be surprised if it's draw. But I think one of these two are going to stay up and Cardiff will go down. So it's a big game.
Really, when you're having a double game, you couldn't have asked for like two worst teams, really, unless like Wigan. You could only really throw Wigan in there, couldn't you?
Both of these would be Wigan.
Yeah, I probably agree. Yeah, I think Wigan are definitely down, and I think whoever loses here is in big trouble, really. They'd have to have a really good run of form to escape. Let's go on to the next game then, and action-packed game, Swansea 3, Birmingham 4. Lineups, Dan, anything noticeable in this?
Yeah, so Fisher, Wood and Nitcham came in. Obviously, Bender got injured in the previous match. For Birmingham, they were back at 5-3-2. Friend was in at left wing back, and Gardner came. I think he's hardly played this season, so he came in. And Cadra was up front with Hogan, so Deeney dropped out. And it's just a bonkers game. We've hardly talked about these two teams for quite some time, so a bit to say. Another 2 goals for Piero. They were 3-2 up and they took him off. I wonder if they regret that. Cullen's scored 5 in 7 in his last championship matches, and I think you got a graphic with Cullen and Cooper up.
Yes, and Perot, yeah, all three of them there.
Yeah, so with they had a disastrous window, and they didn't bring any players in. 6 went out, and what this done is some of their youngsters are going to get game time, and they're priced quite cheap. And Swansea are one of the teams that do play in have a double, and they do. And Cooper and Cullen are both eligible for Budget Buster. Whether you're going to risk a striker spot on Cullen, but like I said, he's got 5 in 7. He's going under the radar. I think it's one of these things where we've just not talked about Swansea enough, that they've gone a bit under the radar, certain players. And Cooper's played a lot of minutes this year, and he's an attacking midfielder. So I'm not saying I'm going to have them, but I think they're definitely worth an option, maybe a differential, because I think there'll be like really popular picks, which will be quite template in Budget Buster. But I think maybe throw in the odd, the Swansea one might not be a terrible, because we know they attack.
I think you've raised a good point there, Dan, because I was looking on the way down on the coach yesterday, on the way down to him, looking at who double in 33, what players are eligible for the Budget Buster. And I got to Swansea and I basically just, I'm right. Didn't even really look into it, if I'm honest with you. 5 and 7 is nothing to turn your nose up at, is it? And what's his price?
Let me just check. Sorry, I should have wrote that.
Oh, he wasn't prepared for that.
I wasn't prepared for that.
Well, either way, it doesn't really make a difference because Budget Buster money isn't going to be an issue.
Cullen is 5'1", he's a striker.
Yeah.
And Cooper is 5'8", and he's a midfielder.
So Cullen's the one who attracts more. And, they've got Blackburn away, Stoke at home, so winnable games, I'd say.
Yeah.
So I think those two are definitely worth a shout. And while we're on the topic, before I go to Angus, do you think there's anyone else in that team that's worthy of just looking at for 33?
I've done a short list, and Latabodier is on there. He's 4'9". He's a risk, but I'm not sure whether unless he scores a brace or something, I don't think he'll go back up to 5. But he's playing right wing back, and Grimes 6'1", could get an assist or something like that. Okay,
Angus, you wanted to talk about Perel, the forgotten man. Say.
I mean, I surprised both of you before the pod by pointing out that he was one of the top scorers in the division and into double figures.
And you did surprise me, because I said if you'd asked me how many he scored, I'd have said 5, maybe 6. So for the listeners, be honest, did you think he scored 10 goals?
Now, to be fair, he hadn't before yesterday, but because obviously he got 2, which took him to 11. But still, like you said, you wouldn't have even thought he was close even before the 2 goals yesterday. And yeah, I just think, on this theme of sort of overlooked players, he might be sort of one of the main ones where it's just sort of like, we talk sometimes about the chances he doesn't take. I know Dan was saying about how many big chances he's missed, but that part of the appeal with him is that he will get those chances. He might not take all of them, but he's going to get them. And I think
he's nailed now.
Yeah. And so I think that's worth considering. Obviously, I know if people are looking at Budget Buster in 33, he doesn't count for that. But, we know that he will score goals. So it's just sort of, another player to potentially look at, particularly if you're not necessarily looking to play Budget Buster in 33.
Yes, because what we need to be careful about is just assuming that everybody is playing Budget Buster in 33, because we don't know, do we? So this is a perfect opportunity to look at players and, even teams as well, that we haven't really been focusing on over the last few weeks. So yeah. I think you raised a good point there, bringing Perot up. Just out of curiosity, did any of you two predict him to be top goal scorer this season?
No.
I can't remember who I think I had Colin Grant.
I don't think so.
I think I had DK.
I know there was a lot of talk, and I can remember listening to Second Tier Pod. They were big on Perot in pre-season to be top goal scorer, and I also think Championship Chat as well were. So
I thought he was going to get sold, to be honest.
I might have laughed at him probably
Oh,
3 hours ago.
I said Perot to be top goal scorer.
You're in for an outside shot, Angus.
Yeah.
I'd have laughed at you a few hours ago until you told me you scored 11 goals. So that's that. Before we move on, though, Birmingham.
I was about to say we do need to talk about Birmingham.
Yes, we do. They do double in 33, which is always nice for them playing Budget Buster. They've got Huddersfield away and Norwich away. But they have got West Brom on Friday, I think it is. But they've got Cardiff at home in 32. So that, if you're not overalling into it, that could be a really good entry point, couldn't it?
Yeah, exactly. And particularly because you're going to be looking at primarily the defenders. I think the main two will be our man Collan and Trusty, both of whom do count for Budget Buster. I think both of them got a return in this game, I want to say. I think Collan got an assist and Trusty obviously got the last-minute winner. And particularly when you're talking about that Cardiff entry point, Cardiff, a team that struggles to score goals, getting a defender in at that point seems like like you say, a great entry point for them, really.
Yeah. What about Ogun, Dan? Would you look at Ogun?
Yeah, he's on the short list. I think he's another one where I think he's got double figures as well.
No.
No,
he hasn't.
I know he was one that was doing really well for a while and then sort of stopped.
He got
scoring.
injured, didn't he?
He went through that little run, didn't he?
Yeah, he got 10. He got his 10.
That was his 10th.
And that penalty, because I'd have guessed he'd scored more penalties than that. He's only scored that one penalty, so he has scored 9 goals from open play. So
yeah, Deeney's takes them, then he normally win.
Deeney would take the pens, yeah.
Interesting. So he's definitely one. Anybody else before we move on?
No,
I don't think so. No, I know Jukovic scored in this. I don't think you'd be looking at him though.
No, maybe 6 years ago.
Yeah.
He'd been a great asset.
The only one is Ruddy, unless you.
Yes. Yeah.
He made an absolute howler in this game. Did you see it? He miskicked it. He miskicked it straight to. I think it was Piero, didn't he? Came flying up and miskicked it. But he's had a good season.
Yeah.
To be honest,
especially points wise, and Gaffr, I was looking at the keepers the other day, and he's right up there. So fair play to him. Right, we'll cover one more game, and then we'll have a short break. Well, not actually having a break. We're just going to restart the Google Meets. Yeah. We really do need to sort this out, don't we? Instead of doing this every week, tight bastards. Right, next game then. Reading 2, Watford 2. Dan, there's a big, massive picture of Thomas Ince, my favourite ever man. But before we talk about Thomas Ince, give us any important team news.
Yeah, so new signing from Chelsea. Is it Cassidy? Oh, I have no idea.
On names.
Go on, Angus, you know this.
I haven't looked at his name yet, so...
Oh, right. Well, he's highly rated from Chelsea, and Long was in. Watford went to a back 4. Gaspar was playing at right back, which is a bit disappointing. Ponteres, centre back, who a lot of Championship clubs are after him. I know Stoke, where Luton were linked to as well at some point. And another main news was Pedro was on the bench, which could be massive for them in the long run. But I wanted to talk about the game. Obviously, Watford went 2-0 up. Sarr scoring. Just when people start selling him, he seems to just get that goal to entice you in. Luckily, I've got him for this week. But the main goal we've got to talk about, Jeff Hendrick. Oh my word, what a worldie! But yeah. But let's be honest, we're here to talk about Ince. Doesn't qualify for Budget Buster, even though I'm not sure they have it. 7 goals, 4 assists. We've mentioned before he's talismanic. Another player that I've massively overlooked. and it's probably just because he's playing for Reading. But I don't know if they have a good run in future. I know their form has dipped a bit, but
they've got a double in 35, but it's Middlesbrough
yeah.
away and Sheffield United at home.
All right.
But then they've got Millwall at home, but then they do go to Blackburn, home to Hull, away to Bristol City, home to Birmingham, away to Preston before Burnley in 42. So
Yeah,
after
he's
this
one.
little period,
Yeah, he's one of them there. He's probably just a decent option to just hold, but I'd probably bench his points and things like that.
what price is he done?
I think he's about 6'5", I'm
Yeah,
guessing now.
he
He's
was one
had
of
quite
them
a
I
lot of
looked
price
at
rises.
earlier on in the season, but I ended up with Baker at the beginning of the season because he was
Yeah.
on, all the set pieces, penalties.
He's
and stuff.
6'4" now, started at 6, so he's
He would count
161.
for Budget Buster.
Yeah,
He would,
unless he
yeah.
went up by 0.1. So
Yeah.
But he's one of these players that could, though.
Yeah. Well, particularly because they just had that game where he scored, play Sunderland away, and then Rotherham at home before that double. So the chances of him going up are good. I mean, just for people who have him, after that they play Cardiff away and Blackpool at home. So for those who have him, I think you're holding him through that.
I think he's just one of them set and forget. He's at that nice
Yeah.
price point where I've done it until very recently. Just held Baker, he's not doing anything, but it's 6.5. Happy for him, just sit there, and then if he does get bonus, brilliance. But
A lot of people have Brownhill, who I know it's a bit different because he's eligible for budget busting in 33, but you could just transfer him to Ince, and I think Ince will score more than Brownhill till the end of the season.
Yeah, I think with Brownhill, you've got the risk of him dropping deeper, where with Ince, his dad's not going to drop him, is he? So he's definitely nailed on, and he's going to play very high. So, I mean, I'm not going to go there. Not because I think there's anything wrong with it. It's just like, I've got to try and plan for Budget Buster now.
Yeah.
The fixtures aren't. If they had a better double, then maybe I'd be a bit more tempted to bring him in for 35. But Middlesbrough and Sheffield United, it's not really great, is it? So you're not hoping for much there. But I wouldn't be surprised if he did get a goal in over them 2 games. But yeah, I think another one overlooked. He's definitely worth thinking about. He is definitely a potential asset. Right, on that note, is there anything to talk about before we go for the short break?
Just a couple from Watford.
Yes.
Just to mention in terms of getting returns, obviously Porteous came straight into the team, got a goal from Mateus Martin's corner. So another thing that could add to Martin's appeal. And Araujo, the new forward, got an assist for Sarr's goal. So a few potentially interesting options there, except for Jamie, who's never buying a Watford player again.
Never ever. I hope they get promoted just so I don't have to have them in this game anymore. Again.
I hope they
just
don't.
Get them up. I can't be dealing with Watford.
I just wanted to mention with Watford their next 4 games: Blackburn, Burnley, West Brom, Sheffield United.
Tasty. And that season define really, because
it could be, yeah.
Less than 3. If they don't pick many points up there, I think the pressure's really on Birch then. They might find it difficult to even get in the playoffs. I know it's tight and competitive, but teams are gathering momentum at the moment, and they don't want to start sitting behind.
I look forward to the tweet of the corner flag.
Right, we have got about 10 seconds before this cuts off, so we will be back shortly. And we're back, and the last of our featured games was from the EFL Fantasy Derby. Not one that I'm looking forward to talking about, but Dan, Luton 1, Stoke 0. Line-up news?
For Luton, it was just Campbell in for Woodrow. Woodrow was playing the 10, but we went a bit more defensive. Stoke, I think you changed back to 3-4-3, did you, Jamie?
The 3-5-2, Gale, Brown up front, yeah.
Which I know you weren't overly impressed with.
Not really.
Sterling and Selena in for Campbell and Smallbone. to be honest, it weren't a great game. It was pretty similar, Angus, to the season before where it was 1-0. It's just Luton scored instead of Stoke really this time. Petty got released by Adebayo and he went through and took a shot, and it weren't the cleanest of strike, but it was right in the corner. I don't think the goalie could have saved it. And then I can't think of too much. There was a penalty incident on Clark, which looked like on live looked like it was, but looking back, it looked like he went down easily. Second half, Stoke had a goal disallowed for a massive push on the goalie.
Massive.
And I can't think of anything else. Woodrow had a header wide.
Just wide, yeah. They put that on the highlights.
That was
that was literally it. We had the lowest XG.
We had the third
I've mentioned XG in the matter of like 2 minutes. What is going on here?
You're a change man.
It's only because I saw second to you tweeted earlier on. It's not that I looked at or anything.
I'm glad because that's 2 1-0 wins in a week. Shows we can win playing well, but also grind out results. So yeah, I'm quite happy. I know you weren't overly impressed with Stoke.
No, I'll get onto that in a minute and try and put it off as long as I can, if I'm honest, Dan. But you wanted to speak about Clark, didn't you?
Yeah, well, it's more about just the lineup in general. I know a lot of people with Luton being a doubler, having a game last week. There was a lot of people who brought in Potts and Campbell and Drame and Bell. So Drame's first choice at right wing back, although because he's not been playing a lot of games, he's obviously been taken off around 60, 70th minute on both games. I'm not sure that's going to carry on, but it looks like he's not going to play 90 as much as Bree did. That's mainly because Fred Omnidimma's now fit, whereas he wasn't fit all season. Also, Bree a few times could slot in at right centre back as well, and they would take off a centre back. I'm not sure Drame can do that. Potts is injured. I haven't heard anything else, but he wasn't in the training video that they released before the game. So we'll have to wait on lineups. Bell's playing left centre back. I thought he'd done all right. Doubt he's playing left wing back. Campbell's not first choice. I know he played at the weekend, but we signed Marvellous Nakamba, who, when he gets fully fit, he'll be playing, and Clark will push forward and will play with Pelly. Campbell's going to be on some set pieces. Doubt he will be on the other ones. So yeah, Clark's the best midfield option for Luton now.
And striker-wise, ahead of Adebayo gets another return.
Yeah, it's Morris and Adebayo, but we've basically only got 3 strikers now. We've got backups, but they're quite far back up. So we've only got Woodrow who'll rotate. It's going to be Morris and Adebayo with Woodrow occasionally coming in for one of them.
Okay, and Angus, to my surprise, you mentioned earlier that you'd like to speak about Ben Wilmot.
Yeah, obviously I like sort of taking jabs at Stoke and everything.
Really? I hadn't noticed.
But I thought that Ben Wilmot is a player that has actually impressed me this season. Despite the amount of work he's asked to do sometimes.
What are you smirking at, Dan?
I know
there's Stoke slander on this podcast.
I know Jamie thinks Wilmot is good, and to be fair, he is their best.
He'll win our Player of the Year this year.
Really? Oh,
that's how shit we've been. No, he has been good.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I think it's one of those things where, you're almost looking for positives, in a lost season. Let's go with that. Let's go with lost season. And I do think that Wilmot is one who has sort of. I think the other thing that's encouraging is he stepped up his performance level when things like Suter's unavailability. Obviously, he's now been sold. Ben Wilmot did look like he actually sort of stepped up and was like, okay, there's going to need to be a better performance level from the centre backs. I'm going to have to contribute to this. You could say less about some of the other centre backs, but I just thought he's someone who has actually been somewhat of a positive this season. I'm disappointed we haven't seen, or it doesn't feel like we've seen any sort of bangers from him this season.
Yeah, that Preston goal still is replays in my head all the time, Angus.
But yeah, I just thought I'd bring a small sort of positive to this for when talking about Stoke.
It's much appreciated because I'm not going to say anything positive in a second. But before I do, it's a shame with Wilmot because he's 5 million into. We do have the double in 33. Blackpool away and Swansea away, is it? Yes, Swansea in midweek.
Decent.
Yeah, it's not too bad. Blackpool, you'd want the points from that one, and then you take anything you can get at Swansea. I think that game could go either way. It's a shame he's 5 million. He's not eligible for the budget buster. But in terms of Stoke, I haven't really spoke about them lately because they haven't been on the featured games. They've been on the other results. So very quickly, it's frustrating. We recruited for a 4-3-3. Sold Suter on deadline day, which is annoying because that seemed to have dragged on all window. We knew he was going to go Leicester. And we haven't used that money, which I don't have a problem with because our financial fair play restrictions will be cleared for the summer. So we've not free to spend what we want or anything like that, but it's not just relying on free transfers and loans. So I'm more than happy for that. We've brought in Hover. I think that's how you pronounce the name, from Wolves. He is shocking. Dan, what did you think of him?
Yeah, I can understand why he doesn't get picked by Wolves. But did you see what they spelt his name on the programme?
No.
It must have been autocorrect because it was however.
Oh, however.
However, yeah.
Yeah, he was shocking. His passing, his defensive work rate, everything was just off of him. We brought in Selena and played him in a midfield 3, which...
Yeah, it's a bit anonymous.
Yeah, what are you doing there? Who else have we brought in? God, I've got to try to remember who we've brought in now.
Twin Sadie?
Yeah, obviously he's not fully fit. Yeah, he should be here in a couple of weeks. Pearson again, not fit.
Good signing.
Yes, he will be a top signing. And Sarkic and goal, which anybody's an improvement on Bonham. It was his kick that led to the goal. But he's gone and played the 5-3-2 with Fox and Jagielka in defence, which... my thoughts on Fox, but he's been okay this season defensively. Nothing outstanding, but we're so slow, and we try and build up from the back, and then we just go nowhere. It's kind of you've played the pass too late, and then there's no option on for the second pass, and it's just like we go nowhere. We created nothing. Our XG showed that.
For me,
Brown were just chasing shadows.
For me, it was your striker. When I don't know if it was just me, but you look at Stoke strikers, and for us, I thought our centre backs, it was easy for them.
Yeah, Lockie had a really easy game.
Yeah, and then you look at Adebayo and Morris, and they caused.
I thought they caused problems. But Adebayo, he held everything up. Everything stuck to him. He was really good. But you say the problem was the strikes, but can you remember a forward pass to them, decent pass from our midfield?
Do you know the only one I can remember was when Campbell came on. I can't remember who clipped it in, and Campbell had a shot that went over.
Yeah.
I can't remember who was it. Was it Selena by then?
It could have been.
Can't remember.
But Josh Laurent played okay, but didn't really do anything. But it's just frustrating, and this season's just a write-off. I wasn't getting excited after we beat Reading 4-0, but I thought, you've showed a bit of spirit, a bit of fight. You give us something to watch, and then we go and follow it up with that. So it's like...
So on my shortlist, I had Fox, Smallbone, and Campbell, and Budget Buster. Smallbone and Campbell didn't start, so I can't pick them. And Fox.
Yeah, but now, have you seen the tackle back on from Drama on Timon? Yeah,
I haven't seen it back.
I
Was
haven't.
it bad?
I don't know. I haven't seen it
I
back.
thought I thought it was just mistimed.
I
Like
did
I
at the
thought
time.
it was a booking, but it just looked like he got there split second after, and I
Yeah,
don't think it was bad.
obviously it was near the halfway line and I'm behind the goal,
Yeah,
so
yeah,
I just saw it as just a shit tackle, nothing worse. But he got stretched off, so I think Neil's hand's going to be forced now to go to the back four. I swear to God, if he plays a back five with someone else at wing back, like Sterling went and played left wing back, didn't he? When they made that
yeah.
sub. But that was the perfect opportunity. We're losing 1-0. We're not creating anything. Bring Campbell on for time
Yeah, I was
and then go
surprised.
forward back. So Fox, I think, because when you mentioned Fox the other day, I was like, I don't think he'll play if we play a
Yeah,
back
yeah.
four. But in a back five, he will play because he's the only left-footed centre back. So I think he plays left back now. Because I really don't want Hoover play. Jesus Christ, I would rather Morgan Fox play. So yeah, I think if you are looking at Stoke assets for whatever reason, he's definitely the one. Fox. I think Campbell will come back in against.
I can't risk that now.
No,
Can't risk it now.
It's too close to 33 to risk it. But
Yeah.
personally, I think he'd come in. But what do I
What
know?
about Smallbone? Because I know you like him, but he didn't start either.
Yeah, I do, but no other Stoke fan does. I
Yeah.
think I'm the only one who appreciates his off-the-ball work.
You need to get your cardboard cutout out and start asking for his shirt, Jamie.
Yeah, but
You'll
it's
get it every
baffling.
week.
I thought when Pearson comes into the team, he'll play as the holding midfielder, breaking up play, and then it will be Baker went off. I would have said Baker because captain, but he was the one who got pulled, didn't he? Baker, Lawrence, or Smallbone, but he played Selena in the midfield three, so I don't know now. That's baffling. You let wingers go, buy a winger, and then don't play wingers. So, yeah, I think everyone's had enough of Stoke talk. Let's not make this a Stoke podcast. Angus is about to fall asleep. And we'll go into the other results. So I'll quickly fire through these, and then if you want to add anything on them, you can. Bristol City went to Preston and won 2-1. West Brom beat Coventry at home 1-0. Hull also beat Cardiff at home 1-0. Sunderland and Millwall drew 1-1, so did Huddersfield and QPR, and Rotherham held Sheffield United to a 0-0 draw. Any takeaways from any of them 6 games?
So I was going to mention, because I think he started his first game, he'd done well in the Cups, but I think this is his first league start. Sam Bell from Bristol City, young forward. I think he'd done well in the Cup games and had earned his first start in this game, and obviously he got a goal in this game as well. And also just to mention, I'm not sure where it's come from, but Mark Sykes is absolutely flying.
Did you see Scott's assist? Pass?
He's gone though, isn't he, in the summer?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. It's a shame, like we talked about him in pre-season as like a really good cheap option, and I don't. In terms of Gaffr, he hasn't really returned what we'd want, but performance-wise, he's a top player.
Yeah,
and he's going to be a very good player. What are your thoughts on Sheffield United during this obvious Rotherham of their bogey sides?
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's because apparently, like the likes of Ndiaye in particular weren't even that close to scoring. So,
I think the commentators on the highlights basically said Bogle was the main threat.
Yeah. That was actually. I know Luke FPL Irons was watching this game, and he said that Bogle was just everywhere.
Now, as promising that is as for Bogle owners, it's not a good sign, is it, for like the Ndiaye owners and stuff like that.
Well, but I think he was down early in the game, so I don't know if that had a lasting impact. But you sort of hope it's just sort of an off day, and you know that for some reason they're cursed against Rotherham, so at least they don't have to play them again now.
For you both, I was thinking about it earlier on. I think Burnley gone. Can West Brom or Middlesbrough catch
or
Sheffield
Luton?
United? Yeah, okay, let's say or Luton. Dan's
why are you laughing?
Stone face, serious.
I mean, given in this podcast, Dan has managed to slip Luton into the conversation about every game.
He did earlier on about the playoffs. I noticed it. Yeah.
No, I don't think so. I think Sheffield United are going to end up sort of. I've said this for a number of weeks now. I think it's like Sheffield United might actually just end up on their own, like just in this weird sort of area where they sort of drift back from Burnley, but they're still comfortably ahead of third place, where they just sort of go up. They still go up, but they're just sort of, you get to the point about 4 or 5 games to play, and they're just sort of in no man's land.
They've got a game in hand, haven't they, on Middlesbrough? They haven't on
No.
Luton, though. Oh, Dan was about to say not on us,
Yeah, straight in.
Or West Brom. So Middlesbrough. I would have said if Middlesbrough had played the same amount of games, 10 points, doable. 'Cause I'm really, really impressed by Middlesbrough. But it's a tough ask.
To be honest, I think you'll know in the next 4 games of Sheffield United. They've got Swansea, Middlesbrough, Millwall and Watford.
Yeah, so
If they pick up 4 points or something like that and a team gets 9 to 12, could be on. Especially if Middlesbrough beat them.
Yeah.
no, anything else from the other games, or
I've got for Cardiff. I know we mentioned how tight their games were, and I just wanted to say that in the last 8 games, it's either been 0-0, 1-0 either side, or 1-1. And for Sunderland, Pritchard was back for them, which is a bit annoying because it might mean a bit of rotation going into budget busters. And Gelhardt will obviously started up front with no Stewart. It looks like he's gonna play most games unless they play false 9.
I was going to ask you about potential assets, but I know a lot of the questions are basically around budget buster 33 players. So if you've got nothing else to add on them games, we'll get into the questions.
Just going to mention very briefly from the whole game, Cyrus Christie has been doing very well in attack. Got a goal in that game.
No, I saw Dan McDonald. Was it in the WhatsApp group or the Slack, up on FPL Slack?
Danny McDonald was after Christie. If you've got a spare transfer, like people have spare transfers at this point.
What's he priced at?
He's
5.7.
Oh, is he?
Yeah, he's not
playing winger though, isn't he?
He's not a budget buster, and they don't have a double. Apart from that, great.
Yeah, I'm just looking.
To be honest, 4 points off the playoffs, Hull. As Danny keeps
Isn't
going.
like the entire league 4 points off the playoffs,
Stoke aren't.
except for Stoke.
The problem with Hull is they've got a very mixed bag of fixtures.
Yeah.
Good, bad, up until probably after Burnley in 37. They've got a little run with Reading, Rotherham, Sunderland, Millwall, Blackburn. But then they end it with, they've got Middlesbrough, Watford and Luton in the last 4. So they've got a bit of a mixed bag, but it's not for me, I'll be honest.
I'm intrigued to see how well they do next season because I think Rossini's sorted them out. But I think it's probably a bit too soon this year.
Yeah, a bit stabilise them a little bit because there's been, the new owners, influx of players and stuff like that. I think, it'd be interesting next season. They might be one to watch out for next season as one of the underdogs. Shall we get into questions?
Yeah.
Right. Ask the experts. Let me get the questions up.
If you can find them.
Oh, I had them on. I literally just seen the questions. Right, where are you? Right, first one. I kind of ask you both because most of them are about the boosts. So, Chris Hermitage, any early thoughts on the 3 boosts you think you'll use and weeks for them? Any early thoughts?
I mean, I think I'll probably fall into the crowd of Budget Buster 33. I'll use something in 35 as well. I've already forgotten what the boosts are, but I'll use one in that week.
So we've got overall, underall, triple, budget buster, home advantage, and goal fest, isn't it?
Yeah. So I'll use one, and then I'll probably, if I'm going to play Budget Buster, the way my team is set up, I'll have to overhaul into it. So that'll be what I'll do.
I think for that, normally, we'd probably say don't overhaul, wouldn't we? But with the selection of boosts that we've got, other than budget buster and I'd say triple. The others are a bit underwhelming anyway, aren't they? Like Goldfest, you need literally most of your team to go off to make like a serious amount of points. What would you say you average on that additional 25 points?
I guess it depends how many doublers you've got because, particularly, for example, 33, if you've got, say, like Pookie, some Burnley, and, I guess someone like Brereton Diaz, who will double, that could be, 6-7 goals on its own, and then it's whatever else you get from the rest of the team. So it depends a little bit, but like you could easily get 50 points in a double on that. But
I don't
you
think I've
need it
ever
to go.
scored
But you
over
need it to go
30
well.
on Angus. But
Yeah, you do need it to go well. That's the thing. I think particularly with a couple of the other boosts, you probably do need it to go quite well, like better than average.
yeah. Dan, your early thoughts?
I'm a bit 50-50, mainly because I currently have 5 players that are eligible for Budget Buster. So my thinking is, can I get to game week 33, taking a few hits, and then not having to use an overhaul, or maybe overhaul out of it? Triple, probably 35. Yeah, I'm very mixed because I know I have more doublers already eligible for Budget Buster. I think Angus, you only have 2, don't you? So that's a lot more hits you got to take. Whereas mine's not a massive amount of hits to get there. It's just, am I losing too much trying to build towards it? Like I might have to not have Pookie and things like that.
I think what's made it interesting is that it's like the big double is 33 like so soon.
Yeah.
Like say for example it was around game week 40, you've got 10 weeks to prepare for it, which would be really easy to do. So I think it all depends on how you're set up at the moment, isn't it? Which I should have been set up a lot better because I gambled and said it's definitely going to be in this set, and I didn't plan for it anyway. So my initial plan is to go a bit different, which probably doesn't surprise anybody. I'm thinking of going into 33 by taking 2 -8s over the next 2 weeks to field 11 overall, and 34 with 34 doublers and 35 doublers and triple and 35 on Sheffield United, West Brom and another, or I don't know which players. Next question. Renaried, the leader, the world leader at the moment, second place, has done him good, hasn't he? Have you seen that?
The overhaul.
He overhauled.
There's a new second place now.
Well, I'm not surprised. I was really surprised when I saw that he'd overhauled. But Pete has asked, which players are you actually interested in ahead of game week 33? There's not an ambulance of good options doubling. And actually, I'll ask that question next. I'll ask that one to Dan. So, Dan, you've got a short list, haven't you?
Yeah.
Do you want to go through that? Because I know you're dying to get that list out.
What, the whole list?
Well, whatever you want.
There's probably quite a lot of players there.
What is your list? Just players who are eligible or who you're interested
in? A mixture of both. To be honest,
just give us who you're interested in. I can't be arsed listening to you name loads of players.
Okay. To be honest, defence, Colin, I've already got Good, Fox, Hume, Latabodier. I've got a few others, but that's it. Midfield, Hedges, Bowler, Brownhill, Ogbene, Fosu, any of the Sunderland midfielders, so Clark, Roberts, Diallo, Pritchard, Grimes and Cooper. And forwards, Hogan, Yates, Bradshaw, Hugel, Campbell and Gelhardt and McCullen.
Okay. Angus, anybody hasn't mentioned there that you're interested in?
Oh, Duncan Watmore.
Oh, yeah. Right.
Right, okay. And then the next part of his question is I'm going to ask to Dan. Is Nathan Jones the greatest manager in Championship history?
Well, he's got to be out there, isn't he? I'd probably have I'd probably have Warnock, and then
What below Jones? Yeah.
no.
Given that given that he was one of the best managers in Europe,
He was though, weren't he? For his budget.
You'd have him back in a heartbeat, wouldn't you?
I wouldn't.
I mean that's
I wouldn't.
also not what he said. He didn't say for my budget I was one of the best in Europe.
To be honest, I've not really listened to it. I haven't listened to the interview. To be honest,
It's just
look,
his usual shite that he talks.
yeah.
About.
Well, yeah, but I know, but that's part of what he does, doesn't he? But he's done a good job
his
at
best player under the bus as well.
Yeah, but he does that. He's done that at Luton. It's just the
it feels
players
a
are
bit
too
much to
weak.
A 19-year-old kid to just throw him under the bus for no reason.
Yeah, but they're too weak, couldn't they? In the Premier League, can't hack criticism. But look, he's done well at Luton, didn't do well at Stoke, and he's struggling at Southampton. So, but if he gets sacked, he's going to get a payday, and he'll get another job in the Championship.
I'm just glad we've had him, so I don't have to have him again. I haven't got to worry about him coming into Michael.
What I would say is, what I would say is Stoke haven't improved really since he's gone. So, there's something wrong there.
I think we did. O'Neill improved us from Jones. Not massively, but Neil's just took us back to the Jones and Rowett eras. Right, next one. FPL Buddy hasn't asked a question, but he put, "Oh, come on." I'm guessing he's talking about that. Are they recording tonight?
I don't know. They didn't put a tweet out, and
No, I think they did. I think I saw one today.
So they put it out after our tweet. So he said, "Oh, come on!" After, because I checked to see if they had a tweet asking for questions when he tweeted that, and they didn't. So,
well,
we were there first.
Dibs on the night. Well, we're a weekly podcast. Well, you two are. You two run a weekly podcast.
Maybe two a week.
2 a week, yeah. So
yeah.
I reckon they get their act together and start putting out more content, and then you might have a leg to stand on.
Yeah, when they do 3 a week, they can complain about us taking their day.
Yeah. And we were here first, buddy. Billy Hadaway has asked, which defenders would you consider the best options for Budget Buster in 33? Also, any particular game weeks that stand out for home advantage? So we've answered the Budget Buster defenders question. And then we haven't discussed home advantage yet. We discussed it off air just before we started recording. We're not big fans of it, are we?
It can work, but your team has to be set up, I think, quite well.
It does, but with the doubles, it doesn't really work because what we listed: Millwall, Blackburn, Rotherham.
It depends what week and how well you're set up, because everyone's thinking you need to overhaul right into a budget buster. But for someone like me, I'm only 5 or 6 transfers away from it. I could play home advantage later in another week.
Well, would you play it in one of the smaller doubles, or would you play it in a single where?
Well,
you've got teams at home.
There might be doubles later on in the season, depending on FA Cup. That's not even announced.
Though, are they? So
no, probably
it's
not.
1.5 multiplier. If it was the same as the away one, because what was that? Was that 2.5 for the away days?
2,
isn't it?
It's 2.
Yeah, it all depends, doesn't it? If I think triple and Budget Buster are the best, but like I said, if you don't need to overhaul, you've got to use another boost.
I can't say to answer the question that I've looked, when other game weeks would be the best, because I've written it off. I'm not considering it at all. I definitely won't play it.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, because there's mainly only 2 game weeks that are doublers in 33 and 35. I know 34 have a couple, but the Lumen game's not 100% yet. But what I'm saying is there might be doublers later on for the FA Cup that might throw up better fixtures. And I know a lot of you, and the popular way will be just overhauling into it. But if you don't need to overhaul, maybe home advantage just become an option.
Yeah, Angus, your thoughts?
I think maybe if you're not sold on one of the other boosts and you don't need to overhaul, then go for it. I'm not particularly a big fan of it, but I guess like you say, in the circumstances, particularly if you don't have to overhaul, it might be worth sort of chucking it out there at some point.
I think Dan's got points, but I'd want to fall into it rather than work into it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think for example, if you get one of those weeks where you're heavy on, say, some combination of Burnley, Sheffield United, and Middlesbrough, and two of them have decent home games in the same week,
yeah,
and already you're well set for that, essentially.
Yeah, right. I agree with that. Next question then. Do you agree the boosts were disappointing? Feel like the majority of people will overall 32, budget boost 33, and triple 35. I think that is going to be the template, but I think
but I've seen plenty of people. Yeah, I've seen plenty of people already having different strategies to that for a variety of reasons. I think it's something that we've identified previously, where it's easy to sort of feel like you see a number of people talking about it, and it's like, I mean, it's the same with FPL on Twitter, obviously, but to feel like a lot of the people are doing the same thing, and then it actually comes to it, or you see what people actually do, and there's much more of a mix than you expect.
I think that this is what happens when you get doubles, I'm afraid. With so many boosts, it makes the game more template. Whereas if you go back to the first set of boosts, there wasn't as many double game weeks, sorry. So people have a different variety of weeks to play things in. But because there are double game weeks, people just play the boosts in the double game weeks.
I think the first set is always the best anyway, because you go into the season, going into game week 1, so that final week before the season starts, you've already got your predictions in your head. We were massive on West Brom and Middlesbrough at the beginning of the season, so I had Carl and Grant to be the top point scorer, top goal scorer, all sorts. So you have them in your team, and then you've got a plan. I don't know, let's say using a booster in game week 3, okay. Then all of a sudden, the team you're big on aren't as good as you think they are, and you've got to make transfers. It makes it a bit more difficult and exciting, where the third set is always the same. It's always going to be into you get the doubles.
Yeah, it's because of the FA Cup.
Yeah, and you can't not go for them. Like game week 33 is the biggest one. You've got to use something there, whether it's budget buster or triple, a home advance or goal fest, whatever you use. Everyone's going to target that one anyway, aren't they? Because it just makes the most sense. Yeah. Last one then, FPL Frog. I think I'm currently second, but I've no idea, thanks to the website. I wonder if do I catch Pete, FPL Renarius.
Well, the ranks have updated as we were doing the pod, and FPL Frog is second now. They are 52 points behind Pete, so it's not over the course of the next sort of 15 game weeks. That's easily doable. I think you've got to, find a balance. I guess sometimes you've got to be aggressive on perhaps some differentials, but not sort of go crazy. Like, you have to find that balance. Like, I know it was the right idea for you in season 1, for example, when you sold Buendia. It backfired almost immediately, but at some point you're going to have to make that sort of move where, you're going to have to go away from one or two extra of the template players to try and make up that gap.
Yeah, I completely agree. My advice from being in that position before would be don't do something ridiculous to try to be different. Your team's probably going to be very... I'm just looking at the two teams now. It's quite hard to do while I'm trying to look at the screen as well. But their teams are, they're similar. They're going to be. They're both up there. Stick with the templates, I'd say, and then just try find the differential. Like, don't do something stupid like Sal and DI because you want to do that. Just don't do that. It's still a long way to go. Yeah,
it's 15 game weeks.
Yeah,
exactly.
I
games.
just keep
You only have to
going until,
gain
like,
4
if
points. You only have to gain 4 points per game week if you think about it that way. If you gain 4 points per game week, you'll win.
and from my interactions with Pete, he's a clever guy. He's going to be in defensive mode. He'll be keeping an eye on who's second, third, fourth, fifth, or whoever comes close to him, and try and just cancel them off with players. I'm sure he'll do that. But you've got free boosts to use. I still believe somebody who's within. I don't know if 100's a bit too much now. I'd definitely say 70 points could still win the game if they smash the boosts.
All you got to do is get a really good triple score.
Yeah. And now
Then
the
you'll be
ranks are
able to-
updated. Like my Leanne's team has gone from 43rd to 16th this week, just off the triple. So that's just off 1 week. So it's easily doable. You could easily drop like a stone as well. So it's just keep doing what you're doing. That's what I'd say.
Yeah.
Don't try anything too out of the ordinary. And that is all the questions. So we're not going to go into the final segment, which is the predictions, because there's still 2 games left, so we can't do the results. Angus and Dan are going to pod on Tuesday night, aren't you?
Pending Luton going to extra time, it'll be Tuesday or Wednesday.
Yeah, so they're going to pod then, so they'll do what they did midweek last week. I'll give them my predictions, they'll go through them, and then they'll also be able to talk about the Blackburn-Wigan game and the Huddersfield-Blackpool, and also whether Luton and Millwall are going to actually double in 34, because we will know for sure after that Grimsby game, won't we?
Yeah.
Any housekeeping that we need to do before we go?
EFL Fantasy Cup. Join the league. If you don't join the league, you won't be counted. And I will be able to see after the game week 31 deadline everyone that's in the league. So if you try and join after that, I won't be having that either.
How many qualify?
I might even name and shame you on Twitter.
How many qualify, Angus?
So the first round, I think it's 128. The top 128 will go into the knockout stages.
Despite listening to the pods the other night when you two did it, I didn't join the league. I forgot. I'm not even going to waste my time joining with my team. I'm going to put Leanne's team in there because that should definitely qualify. Mine will not qualify.
Oh, it's just based on that game week. It's not sort of your overall rank. It's just based on the top 128 in that scores in that game week.
Exactly. That's what I'm on about. I'm on 50 something minus 12, I guess.
But next game weeks. It's not this game week. It's next game week's score. So it's game week 31's score.
Shit the bed.
The top 128 in game week 31. So yeah, get your team in there. You never know.
Yeah, I will be in there. Yeah, so everyone join that. Make sure you join the league, like I said. All the information. Or if you listen to this podcast and you don't follow Angus, that's worrying because he's the one who does all the injury news. But follow Angus and the pod accounts for all information on that. Dan, have you got anything that you need to add?
No, I don't think so.
I did say I was going to update the leagues once this new set kicked in. I was waiting for Pontus to send me the League 2, which he has done now while we're recording. So tomorrow at some point I will just put out on Twitter, which I'll get Angus to put on the pod account. The Cash League, for them who are in that, just an update of where you are in that. And then the Super Leagues, Championship, League 1, League 2, and the non-league, they will be out tomorrow. That's Monday. I think that's it. I haven't got anything else I'd like to add.
No, nothing.
No. So you two will be back in midweek for a little bonus pod just to review them two, and then we'll be back next weekend as normal, won't we, on YouTube as well. The midweek ones will not be on YouTube, so if you've been watching on YouTube, they'll just be audio only.
Yeah.
Because I'm doing the YouTube thingy-majiggy, whatever you'd call it, and I can only do the Sunday podcasts. Actually, yeah, I've noticed the subscribers have gone up a little bit on YouTube. I'd like it to grow a little bit more, please. So, more people are watching the video I can't talk. More people are watching the videos, I still can't see it.
Then are subscribing.
Thank you, Angus. Where would I be without you? Yeah, so people watching it who aren't subscribed, so you better make sure you're subscribed and get your family members to subscribe, even if they're not
and
watch.
likes.
Yeah,
we like that
likes.
positive reinforcement. Tell us we're doing a great job. Like,
Yeah, or tell
even
me
if
I'm
you
doing a shit job, I don't mind.
even if you don't believe it, tell us we're doing a great job.
Yeah, any kind of feedback, but the likes and follows and that,
Yeah.
like, you know, we don't want to go massive. We know, you know, Gaffr's not like FPL or anything like that, but you know, the more people that watch and enjoy it, the better. It makes it worthwhile, doesn't it? But I'm always happy to record for you lovely people who listen every week. So yeah, right, we'll end it on that then, so I don't carry on waffling and people can go about their days, walking the dogs, doing the dishes or whatever they're doing. Right.
Yeah.
Well, thank you guys for listening, watching, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.